Welcome and thanks for joining us for this edition of Scope. The Central Music Association has embarked on a musical awareness program to educate musicians on how to recognize the importance of their art and how they can actively use the digital space to amplify it. Interim President Alan Kadea said that CMA delivers awareness centered around the work of the association, copyrights and its impact in developing music in each district, and educating the artists on how to promote and market their individual brands.
The Central Music Association was set up by a group of senior and emerging musicians from Central Province to address the realities facing local musicians today. When CMA successfully garnered funding support from ABT Associates in a partnership under the Economic Governance and Inclusive Growth Project frame, CMA has been running awareness campaigns in the Central Province. CMA Interim President Alan Kadea said that CMA delivers awareness centered around the work of the association, copyrights and its impact in developing music in each district, and educating the artists on how to promote and market their individual brands.
The Central Music Association was formed in 2019. We were registered then, but these issues to do with artist rights has been going on for decades, I would say. And I think the main issue or the gap that CMA fills is, at the moment there isn't a PNG Music Association. And the initial talks we had were about the country and the music industry in PNG.
The not-for-profit association draws membership exclusively from Central Province and works towards developing the music industry and transforming the musical careers of Central Province musicians through strategic initiatives.
The benefit of CMA is that we have a lot of artists that have been around for decades. And so people like Dikadai, Francis Ahi, Hitigolo, even female artists like Betty Toya, they bring a vast amount of experience. And for us, that artist side, as well as the copyright and legal aspect of it, we're able to merge that through people like Oala Moi, he's our legal advisor for CMA. And we're very lucky to have someone like Oala being from Central as well. And it's like an emerging of young artists, old, or I shouldn't say old, but like senior, male and female. So we're really well balanced. And I think it represents, some are straight from the village and some live here in Moresby. So that's what sort of forms CMA. And we're really for the artists, we're for industry, and we're for Central Province.
CMA Vice President and PNG music legend Martin Rawali is working alongside Kadea, conducting musical awareness in select villages for the past 12 months to help educate musicians on how best to recognize the importance of their art.
We formed this association to help Central musicians who are, most of them are in rural places. They're very talented. In music, they can play music, they can sing really well, but lo LP mo lo how lo marketing sing lo salim lo kim sample really money. So this la awareness we lo carry out through we go through Aroma Coast, come down the same all the way, come up lo Hula, and then we come walk him come down to Tubus area, come same lo Barakau, and we went. This is the motto TVWAN. We saw a lot of need when questions were asked about copyright, especially copyright, intellectual property. So this way now, like CMA comes in to try to make them understand what is copyright, what is intellectual property, how do you record a song, and how do you keep it, rights to your songs and protect it.
Artists from Goilala, Amazon Bay, and Abau have had to travel in for the awareness programs due to logistics. What is copyright and what is your right as an artist are the type of questions thrown back to the artists in the districts in terms of what would they like or how do they see development of music in their districts right down to their village level. Copyright is a tough thing to get around an artist's head, and who better to explain this than Principal Legal Counsel at the Department of ICT, Oala Moy. He explains the importance of music copyright and how it designates legal ownership of a musical composition or sound recording.
Okay, copyright is a branch of law that deals with intellectual property, but specifically original works. PNG has a Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act that covers or governs copyright in this country. So yes, we have a copyright law. In the music industry, using it as an example, there are basically two copyrights, okay? So one is in the sound recording, and this is a sound recording, yes? The other one is in the composition. I usually use the word song. So, for example, so we've got the Hitsy's debut album, Gospel Album, Volume 1. So there are 10 songs on this CD. Now, remember I said basically in the music industry there are two copyrights. One is in the sound recording, yeah? This is a sound recording, so there are 10 recordings which are put together as one sound recording. So the copyright in this sound recording is owned by the person that produced this sound recording. In this case, I'm not sure whether it's a human being or whether it's a company. I'd like to think that Hitsy owns the sound recording, so he is the copyright owner in the sound recording. Now that's the first part of the copyright that I'm referring to. The second one is in the song, yes? So there are 10 songs in there, so you have about a combination of 10 sets of songwriters. It might be Hitsy and a couple of songwriters put together for each of those songs. So there you have copyright in the song.
The legal principle of ownership means that the lyricist controls and owns all the rights relating to the use and reproduction of the song, and this includes the rights to sell or assign the copyright and ownership to another individual or company. Oala encourages artists to understand the importance in the difference between the two types of copyright for the sake of commercial and legal reasons. Commercial meaning these are the two common copyrights used to make money, and from the legal aspect, if these copyrights are breached, lawyers use this and the artist's affidavit materials to prove to the court that the artist is still the owner of the copyright, whether it is the sound recording or composition. Daughter of late Sir Kiki Geno said that being born of a music family and being a part of the CMA has taught her the value of her music in its composition, right to its tune, and much more.
Joined this CMA association group, and then that's where I learned about how my music will be for the next, like my children growing up to be like following my footsteps, I would say. Like their music will be like, protected.
When we come back, veteran artists and musicians share their thoughts on CMA and how they can preserve Central Province music. The Central Music Association is gaining support. Artists and all you have become members have only complimented and commended the work of the CMA. Veteran artists and musicians have come on board to show support and share their thoughts on Central Province music and how they can preserve it.
Central Province is known for its local sound, and as per the Institute of PNG, 60% of PNG music is made and produced by two provinces, East New Britain and the Central Province. This is most accurate in the sense of 19 people like Sir George Telek and Sir Kiki Geno. The central sound was also birthed by greats like Francis Aihi of the Royals Band of Hisiu. Aihi expressed that since his time, the beautiful expression of music has been slowly dying, and he hopes that through CMA, this can be taught so as to be preserved.
The Central Music Association, I'm really happy with it because I like Central music. During our time, 1971, we were playing a different music. And now, 2021, I see that the Central music is fading away. Now, if you give a guitar to somebody, a youth at a village level or somewhere, he won't play that guitar. That's my worry. That's why I joined Central music. The Central music, we don't want that Central music to fade away.
Even greats like Dikadai and Dokona Manoka of DJ's band shared their sentiments on how musicians and artists of today do not deliver the same kind of music they record in studio compared to their live performances, and as advised, artists must be able to deliver the same in studio and on stage.
What the young generation are doing, we can't stop them because technology is changing now. We have to move with the technology. But again, as all the musicians, we have to go back to them, advise them. Sorry, don't do too much of example like vocoder, vocoder tuning the voice, because you can get somebody from the street, make him a bigger top singer by using the vocoder, even though the voice is not right or the flat and all that. But so for our case, we have to go out and help them out in what they are doing. Especially for my case, the singing, I don't agree with the way the kids using the new generation using the vocoder thing, unless just a bit, just to clean it up a bit, because at the end they're going to go out and play live. That's when they're going to feel it. Yeah. So I've been backing up a lot of artists, musicians, even Ocean too. I backed him up. One Talks, I played with them, and lately some of those Solomon Island bands coming up, I played with them, and I've seen a lot of mistakes, especially the singing part. So those are the areas we CMA need to go out and help out the young generation.
I think it's good for the future musicians as copyright is new in this country, and there's a lot of things we need to learn because of the computer age. We are willing to help and learn at the same time.
The Central Music Association is a non-for-profit organization, and it is about supporting its local artists, the industry, and they are for the Central Province. That is ultimately who they are for and who they represent. The data collected from these engagements with Central music artists will then be collated through an online platform that CMA will establish to provide essential services to access relevant information on the PNG music industry.
The need for a database is to basically create a digital footprint for Central music and Central artists. It's very PNG centric, meaning that we're trying our best to map the province and where our artists come from. We're basically working on that. We're trying to develop categorically how do we map our industry, our artists, our songs. Culture and tradition is like number one here in PNG. I think close second to rugby.
CMA is Central Province's Music Industry Development Association, and it hopes to transform the music industry careers in PNG.
After the break, sporting fraternities share impact of current 1-month restriction on athletes and their operations. The The PNG Sports Foundation halted all operations since October 6th, adhering to the COVID-19 measure imposed in September that there should not be any public gathering of more than 20 people. 6 more days left before the restriction is due to be lifted, but this 1-month restriction has had more impact on sports competitions and internal programs run by the foundation, as well as sporting codes across the country. With the rise of Delta variant cases, the government is not taking any chances. The National Pandemic Controller has given powers to provincial controllers and provincial governments of 10 high-risk provinces to impose their own measures to contain the spread of the latest deadly strand of the coronavirus.
The National Control Center and the Pandemic Controller, effective 30th of September 2021, announced that all gatherings of more than 20 persons is not allowed after a surge in the number of cases of COVID-19 and the Delta variant was reported across the country. This affected sporting fraternities. Every sporting event or gathering was forced to cease for 1 month by the authorities. Cricket, however, was granted approval to conduct its activities within strict COVID-19 measures. It was fortunate as its entire team members, including officials and staff, are fully vaccinated. The PNG Barramundis, Lewas and the under-19 Garamuts were allowed to train and play cricket only within the confines of the Amini Park.
To be clear on what we've been approved for, we've only been approved for cricket here at Amini Park, so we haven't been approved for others yet. And the things that we put forward of why we got approved, we obviously maintain the 20-person maximum limit. Even if you look at like the teams now, one's at a far end of that stand and one's here. So at no time will they ever, and we've made it clear, at no time is it ever to be 20 people on this field. A game of cricket doesn't have that. It's a large space, and it's a non-contact sport.
As a non-contact international sport, Cricket PNG wanted to make sure all necessary steps were taken so that the national men's team could participate in the ICC T20 Cricket World Cup in Oman.
Everyone is vaccinated. That we did that. We got that about 2 months ago. As soon as, actually even with the under-19s when they came for the training camp, when we cut it down to 27, we got all 27 vaccinated. It's just part of what we do now. We have made it clear to all of our cricket associations, anyone that is to play cricket now, it is a choice. We're not saying they have to, but we're saying if you want to play cricket, cricket is a privilege. To play sport is a privilege in these times. So to do it, you must adhere to mask wearing, being vaccinated. We've got hand sanitizers all over the place. Once we did a full decontamination of all the office spaces, the high performance, the gyms, they're regularly wiped down. We have cleaning staff going through in the day, spraying disinfectant every day.
PNG made its debut at the ICC T20 Cricket World Cup.
PNG 0-1. Another chop on! Holes everywhere! It's the middle one that goes down, and suddenly PNG are 2 down. Kali Mula, a little bit of shape away, but it's that top of the bail's length that does him. In the air, there's another! 3 and an over! Falling like 9 pins here are those in black.
Oceania Fight Promotions, who's preparing to host its first fight of the year in Port Moresby, was also affected by the 1-month restriction. Managing Director Marian Milley said all international fights lined up by OFP had to be cancelled.
Fight against COVID-19, so we used our boxes, some of our boxes which are not here, we use them to do this COVID-19 all electrical rules, and we also changed the language stem to Tok Pisin English version, and we support COVID-19 to promote this awareness into communities that are in the remote places or in the settlements. Our boxes can go and they can do these programs that OFP have. But so far, due to this COVID-19, we could not get any sponsors. That's why we could not do these programs. Unless we have good sponsors and government supporting us, then we can go ahead with our programs that are left behind.
The only Premier League competition in PNG, the Port Moresby Rugby Football League, also had to put its matches on hold.
In the last 2 weeks, we have allowed crowds to come through our gates, but still comply with the protocol measures for COVID-19 pandemic. So we are comfortable. We have collected gate fees, which supports the games in terms of eyes, in terms of looking after the referees.
Other league competitions, including Calgary Rugby League and the inaugural Super Rugby League, are waiting out the 1-month restriction, which is due to be lifted in the next 6 days' time. Bigger sporting events like Sports Talk Sevens have been postponed to late November. The Kumul Petroleum National Soccer League is awaiting further advice from the Controller's Office on whether games will resume after October 30th or not. Competition Director Rosé Suai said while it's business as usual in the office, all 14 teams in the NSL have suspended training in compliance with current new restrictions in place due to the alarming surge of COVID-19 in the country. Suai said PNG FA has written to Deputy Pandemic Controller's Office seeking approval to commence its NSL competition on the 6th of November 2021. Earlier this month, the PNG Sports Foundation had to close its doors as well as shut down sporting venues nationwide to abide by the current restriction.
And obviously the increase in numbers contracting this Delta variant, PNG Sports Foundation has made that bold decision to close its venues. Again, it's not an easy decision to make. We have our responsibility to ensure that sports are using these facilities, activities happening in these facilities, but we also have a social and community responsibility back to ensure that this virus is not transmitted through our venues.
The collective decision between PNG Sports Foundation and PNG Olympic Committee and the Control Centre has put some strain on the organisation again, as it had done before. The livelihood and means of income for many of its staff in other parts of the country has been affected greatly, as they have had to lay off staff yet again, especially those working at these sports venues.
In the community, vaccination is a big problem across the board, and we will be encouraging a lot of our sporting community to take up the vaccination and join the vaccination drive to try and get as many of our people in the sporting community and in the community to be vaccinated, so that we can get a handle on this the spread of the virus currently going through the country.
For PNG SF and PNG OC, athletes are currently preparing for qualifying events, national championships and trials, with international deadlines to meet as well. PNG is currently preparing for the Commonwealth and the Mini Pacific Games. Meanwhile, the imposed 30-day restriction ends this Saturday, October. However, it is still unclear whether another measure will be put in place, considering the increasing number of COVID-19 cases, including the Delta variant being reported. Already, the National Pandemic Controller has given powers to provincial controllers and provincial governments of 10 high-risk provinces to impose their own measures to contain the spread of the latest deadly strand of the coronavirus.
That ends another episode of Scope, a kind reminder to apply simple measures to prevent the transmission of the coronavirus. Regularly wash your hands with soap and water, cough or sneeze into your elbow, and exercise social distancing. If you are feeling sick, please stay at home. You can also call the COVID-19 hotline number for more information or assistance.